Leaving the classroom takes work. And today I am going to share with you 5 steps that I took to leave the classroom in less than 3 months. Stick around. I resigned from my teaching role over Christmas break, and when I returned in January to finish teaching out the last couple of weeks of my contract, I, of course, had a lot of colleagues who were giving me well wishes or were telling me they would miss me. But I was really surprised by how many of my fellow teachers were coming to me and legitimately asking, Kortney, how did you do it? How are you leaving? And how did you get this remote role? So I'm going to share with you today how I did it. I've got 5 simple steps that I followed to make my transition out of the classroom. And even though my transition was faster than it is for most, it certainly didn't happen overnight. There was a lot of hard work and really thoughtful planning that went into it. First and foremost, I had to make a mindset shift. I know that sounds cliche, and we kind of are probably a little tired of hearing fixed mindset and growth mindset in the education world, but I really did have to make that shift in my mind. I decided I was done sometime in October. I was no longer just thinking I might want to leave the classroom. I'm kind of stressed out. I don't really know if I want to do this anymore. I made a final decision. I will leave. I am done with this. And that really helped me feel a little less emotionally connected to my job. Not necessarily less connected to my students, just less connected to the job. It helped me to remember that it was just a job. It was not my life. It was not my identity. It was a job. And it was okay if I wanted to leave that job and do something different. It also kind of led to a little bit of quiet quitting. Once I had made this decision, it was a lot easier for me to pack up and leave at the end of the day, even if everything wasn't done. It was a lot easier for me to say no to extra responsibilities. And even though I was still way overworked, I felt a little better because I was doing just a little bit less. After I had made up my mind that I was going to leave the classroom, the next step was to decide when. I set myself a goal of leaving by at least the next summer. So this was around October. I decided I will have something lined up so that I do not have to go back to teaching the next year. This really kind of lit a fire under me and gave me some sense of purpose and direction. So I wasn't just like aimlessly Googling and scrolling, but really made me feel like I've got to do something and I've got to do it now if I am going to reach this goal. So I had made up my mind I was going to leave. I knew when I wanted to leave by, but I had no idea what I was going to do. After all, since I was 3 or 4 years old, I had thought I wanted to be a teacher. I had spent my entire life practicing teaching, being a teacher, learning how to be a teacher. So now what? I had no idea. So I went to good old Google and just searched something like good jobs for teachers leaving the classroom. And I started looking at the lists that came up. And then I would dive a little farther into things that I thought were interesting. So I eventually landed on instructional designer, decided that that was probably something that would be a good fit for me, and started learning even more about it. But before I decided on that, I had kind of researched a little bit on several different jobs. The important thing here is that you need to pick one job to focus on, or one type of job at least, because if you're just applying and like spraying and praying to a lot of different things, you're probably not going to see much results. If you are searching and looking for lists, a good place to start is the Teacher Career Coach. She has some great articles on there about transitioning out of the classroom, and even has a quiz you can take on what jobs might be a good fit for you. So I will put a link to that in the description below. So now that I had made up my mind that I was leaving, given myself a goal of when I would leave by, and decided what I will be trying to get into, I had to upskill. That meant I needed to learn how to do this new job. I knew I already had a lot of the skills that would transfer over, but there was also some skill gaps I needed to fill. I was consuming so much content. I was listening to YouTube videos and podcasts while I was driving to work or driving to pick up my kids from daycare or cooking dinner. I even used my earbuds to listen during hallway duty and other tedious tasks. I would read articles and watch YouTube videos during my lunch break instead of going to the teacher's lounge. And then in the evenings, after I put my kids to bed, I was learning the new software and practicing skills I would have to have. And I was creating things to put in my portfolio because I knew that hiring managers would be looking for proof that I had learned the skills and the software that was necessary. So all of that was consuming literally every spare moment that I had. So for about 3 months, I spent all of my spare time learning about what I wanted to get into. All right, this last one is huge. I've decided to leave, set a goal when I would leave, decided on my target job, and I've done all of the upskilling. But now, how am I going to connect with people or find people in this industry? LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge outside of education. I had never really had a LinkedIn before because as a teacher, that's just not something most of us do. But I quickly learned I was going to have one. And not only did I need a LinkedIn profile, I needed a good LinkedIn profile. So I started by optimizing my profile. So I took a good picture and created a banner that would go with that picture that was displaying what I wanted to be, not what I already was, not advertising myself as a teacher, but advertising myself as an instructional designer, because that's what I was trying to get into. I put my experience on there and I didn't lie about what I have done, but I did reframe it in ways that people in the learning and development industry would understand. I designed a tagline that would go underneath my name, again, that explained what I was trying to get into, not what I currently was. I even asked for a few trusted colleagues or former administrators to leave me some recommendations on there to add some social proof and make me look more like a real human being. And of course, put a link to my portfolio site on there as well. Now, after I created a good LinkedIn page, I needed to start making connections. So I started by the people I had been watching on YouTube, and then other people I knew were big in the industry. And then I would just search the LinkedIn bar for learning and development or for curriculum designer or instructional designer and just made connections with people that were already in the roles that I wanted to do. And then I connected with those people, not just by hitting connect, but by actually engaging with them. I made it a purpose. I made a point to engage in conversations at least once or twice a day, leaving comments on other people's posts. That doesn't include any posts I was making myself. Engaging in other people's posts. So I would find things about just education in general or transitioning teachers. There's a lot of content about transitioning teachers on LinkedIn. And I would find posts that I resonated with and leave meaningful comments and engage in the conversations. And I also was using the job board and searching the job board on LinkedIn every day and reading those job descriptions, even though I wasn't really ready to apply for most of them. Just reading them helped me to kind of learn the expectations in the industry and the jargon in the industry. And ultimately, I found the job that I'm in now through a post that a connection had shared. Not even on the job board, just through a post that one of my connections shared. So making those connections is so important. Get started on that, like yesterday. If you are a teacher trying to transition out of the classroom, I hope that this video gives you a little bit of guidance on some purposeful actions that you can start to take now to make your dream a reality. You can transition out. You can do this. If you want someone to talk it out with, please feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn or let me know what you think or what you need help with in the comments below. See you next time.